Professor Dershowitz was saying, I have one source, I don't have two, that actually told me that there was one confirmation as it relates to the dossier, and I was given a name, and it happens to be somebody that is a corrupt individual inside the Clinton circles, and you know, I can tell by your face, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly who you're talking about, and if that does come to fruition, if we find out,
then the court may have been lied to.
Then the court may have been lied to, and then what Alan Dershowitz said would definitely take significance.
Agreed. Tom, tell us what the Judicial Watch is doing.
Well, I think there's going to be, as Sarah's indicating, a tsunami of information coming out on all of these scandals. We have the court ruling that the Clinton emails need to be released more quickly, so we're going to get all these Clinton emails that she tried to hide or delete.
These were the ones deleted, and we haven't seen any of them yet.
Yeah, that looks like they may all be
about yoga, wedding, and funeral, and
or as we found
emailing Bill, who doesn't email.
Or we found on the Wiener laptop classified information and pay to play, which I guarantee is going to be coming out. And then we had the court just yesterday talk about how he wants the Comey memos because he wants to review the Comey memos, which are the genesis of the Mueller operation. There would be no Mueller special prosecutor but for the leaking of Comey to the New York Times on one specific memo. So that material may be coming out. It's all building, and there are text messages that are coming out. And as Ed's talking about, now we're going to find out more details about the FISA or the intelligence surveillance abuses. Now, you know, my concern is that why are we waiting to find out about them after the reauthorization occurs? I would suggest we find out about the abuses before they reauthorize this for another 6 years.
This is such a good point because Devin Nunes, well, you know, I'll let you report on this, but...
Well, yeah, no, I mean, of course, yeah, Devin Nunes is going to, after they rule on the FISA Act, which probably is going to pass, is going to disclose what actually these extensive abuses...
Extensive abuse.
Yeah, in the Department of Justice and with the FBI. And I got to tell you this is coming from people within the intelligence community. This system has been abused. It has been abused viciously. And we know from what we've seen, right? We know from what we've seen that there needs to be an investigation. But let's do it before. Let's do it.
Let me quote for the professor. Professor Dershowitz, what Devin Nunes is saying, that there is clear evidence of massive abuse of government surveillance by the FBI and Department of Justice officials. I'm a civil libertarian first and foremost, sir.
Yeah. We civil libertarians, liberals and conservatives alike, have long worried about the FBI, its surveillance methods, and the potential for abuse. Remember, Comey not only leaked, he laundered the information through a Columbia law professor. He didn't have the courage to stand up in front of a TV camera and say, this is information that I'm going to give you because I want a special counsel to be appointed. He laundered it through a Columbia professor. These are issues that should be investigated. We have to know what surveillance is being used against Americans, and whether you're a conservative or a liberal or a Republican or a Democrat, you should care deeply about any abuse of this process.
If you believe in the Constitution and our constitutional rights, nobody should disagree with that. Last word, Tom.
Hillary Clinton and her top campaign aides need to be brought in, at least by Congress, to testify about what they knew and when about this dossier. Glenn Simpson refused to talk about whether the Clinton campaign, his paymaster, what their involvement was in directing Chris Steele's use of Russian intelligence to gather information.
A lot of news coming next week?
Oh, a lot of news coming next week, Sean.
A lot. The FBI's timeline is now collapsing, and the investigation's not adding up. Former Obama AG Loretta Lynch telling Congress that the FBI, the DOJ officials were discussing Trump campaign associate Carter Page in spring of last year. Maybe that would have been a good time to go say, Mr. Candidate, Mr. Trump, I want you to watch. There might be some people that we're have an eye on. Remember, Trump said the most exculpatory thing he said to Comey was, if anyone around my campaign, I want you to, I want you to do your job. And we've been told the investigation officially started in July with George Papadopoulos. So this timeline is way off. It's going to the spring of 2016, which is why Congress needs to now see all the documents. Attorney General Sessions, I hope you're watching tonight. Also, Judicial Watch learning that the FBI will order Trump-hating FBI lovebirds Strzok and Page to preserve agency records on their personal accounts and on their personal devices if they haven't already acid washed them. And according to Judicial Watch, earlier this week, a judge ordered the FBI to start processing 13,000 pages of previously undisclosed emails between Strzok and Page. We can only imagine what are in those text messages and emails, seeing how they trash Trump constantly in their text messages, and Strzok at the center of all of this. And then you have Senator Grassley. He's raising a red flag and a very disturbing message from Strzok and Page that actually suggests the White House of Obama is running this, meaning the Obama administration. Now, it's unclear what investigation specifically they're referring to, which is why everything needs to be unredacted. But they did talk an awful lot about Trump. Also tonight, take a look at this headline from the American Center for Law and Justice. It was a favor factory. Deep state forced to turn over thousands of Clinton-era State Department emails to about the Clinton Foundation debunking supposed firewall. Now, the ACLJ reporting that the State Department will be turning over nearly 30,000 emails between Hillary Clinton's State Department and her family foundation. This is why I keep saying, I know it takes more time than you want. We're unpeeling layers of an onion. And that means they were in constant communication. And as the AP discovered in 2016, more than half of these people who met with the Clintons while she was serving as Secretary of State ended up either personally or through an organization giving money and funneling it back to the Clinton Foundation.
The Justice Department ordering FBI senior official Peter Strzok and Lisa Page to preserve all of their emails between 2015 and December of 2017. That after a request from government watchdog Judicial Watch, the FBI also agreed to release 13,000 pages of undisclosed emails between the pair on a rolling basis over the next 2 years. Let me repeat that, on a rolling basis over the next 2 years. To find out what that might mean is the man who is getting all of those documents and his, as a result of the Judicial Watch request, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. Tom, great to have you with us. First of all, the idea that you have to ask them to preserve their communications between Page and Strzok after they have obviously played such a central role in this scandal, that's stunning.
Well, at least the FBI responded positively to our request because we saw the text messages that had been publicly released. There was a suggestion that they were going to communicate about government business on their personal devices, and so we asked the FBI, hey, look, make sure all those records are protected and preserved. So they said they were going to send letters requesting that Strzok and Page protect those records and preserve them. You know, but in the meantime, they found 13,000 pages of records, texts, emails, other attachments between Page and Strzok, and they say they can only release them to us at the rate of 500 pages a month. And the court ordered them to release them to us, but obviously that's way too slow. It's a perfect example of the shell games and stonewalling that the FBI and DOJ are playing on these key records.
It is stonewalling by any name. We can call it slow walking. We can do any number of things. But this is outrageous. We've seen it also occur with the State Department and Clinton documents that are still being trickled out. It is stunning that a judge, unless they are part of the conspiracy, would go along with this. It is, first of all, it's condescending, it's patronizing, and it is egregious conduct on the part of the Justice Department, as you have pointed out over the course of the past really 2 years here. And here we are in May of 2018, and it goes on and on.
Well, recall they hid these text messages for at least a year from Congress and the American people. They hid the reason for Strzok's removal from Mueller's operation. Both the DOJ and Mueller hid that from Congress and the American people. Now the text messages have come out. They've only been released partially, as best as we can tell. There may be other communications between Strzok and Page, now well over 13,000 pages, and they want to release them to us at a rate of 500 pages a month. Unfortunately, the court endorsed that, but there's nothing preventing from the FBI and DOJ from accelerating that, and frankly from President Trump, like he did with last weekend, ordering them to start releasing these records in a more timely and speedy way.
I'm sure this does not fit the definition of what the president stated when he called for absolute transparency on the part of the Justice Department and the FBI. It's willful disregard for the commander-in-chief's orders if they were to persist in this, is it not?
The White House wants these records released. They want this extreme transparency. The agencies want to do their own thing, and they think they're independent of the president, which is not constitutional. And as far as I'm concerned, the president should be more direct and just direct the agencies to start complying with the FOIA law. We're not asking for any special treatment. We just want them to follow federal law that requires the timely release of records that certainly the public has a right to see, and a serious right to see in light of the corruption we think is tied to the records. He can declassify the FISA materials, get out the unmasking materials, get the Peter Strzok page materials out, get all the helper materials out, the Spygate materials out. The government's sitting on these, and the White House can get them out. The lawyers in the White House need to enable the president and facilitate his ordering the records releases.
Spygate, as the president calls it, it's Obamagate at this point, because now two of his spy masters have come out and said this is what they did.
Yes.
They have taken ownership of spying on this president by...
They've confirmed it. They've confirmed it.
Absolute, straightforward statements, both of them over a 24-hour period. There's no mystery left. This is now Obamagate.
Well, that's exactly right, and you can bet that nothing like this would have been done without the president's involvement. Congressman Gates referred to the emails that the text messages saying the White House was directing this. Remember, Comey and Clapper said, there was spying or there was something like that, but it was all done by the book, which is kind of like what Susan Rice wrote a few weeks after that infamous Oval Office meeting with Barack Obama, when they were talking about using that dossier and going after Trump with it.
Right. A little convenient and a little revisionist.
It's all by, it's spying, but it was all by the book.
Yeah,
so everyone go back to sleep.
Well, somebody ought to go to
way.
jail for following that particular book.
Comey, Clapper, Brennan, the rest of them face civil and criminal liability because of this. They're going to have to account, and there's got to be a process for getting them to account.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.